back to Ace Chat. I am Marissa, and today I am sitting down with Matt to discuss Cupiosexuality, as well as Recipromanticism, and just who Matt is, and a little about his journey. So thank you for joining me today, Matt.
Of course.
I'm so excited to have this conversation because you and I were talking just a few seconds ago about
Mhm.
well, I just don't think a lot of people have actually heard of these terms before, and even if they have, I think there's some uncertainty about what they mean, if they maybe apply to them. So I was wondering if you wouldn't mind starting off with just a little bit about what cupiosexuality means to you, what recipromanticism means to you, and how those labels fit into your life, fit into your way of knowing yourself.
Well, I'll try my best. Here goes nothing, I guess. I want to start. I want to start with recipromanticism because that's a little easier to explain. Being recipromantic means that I don't feel romantic attraction toward anyone at all ever until it's very obvious and clear that they feel romantic feelings toward me. Which some people I've talked to some friends and they're like, oh, that just means you have low self esteem, or oh, you just need validation first before you feel comfortable. And I have to tell them no, absolutely not. I just don't feel anything at all. There's just a clear lack, like the clear absence of any feeling until someone expresses romantic interest, and then it's just like a rush. It's just like the Titanic is sinking, the iceberg has hit it, we're all going down.
Once they tell you, do you always reciprocate right after, or is it just like a sometimes thing?
So far, yes. So far, always yes.
Does that make it easier to date then, or harder?
Oh, absolutely
Um,
not. No, I think it's it's definitely harder because I feel like when you feel I don't want to say normal or regular romantic attraction, but if you just feel romantic attraction, not like this, I feel like you can just kind of maybe pick and choose partners a little easier. Me, it just oh god, what are these feelings? What do I do with them now? And it just kind of I just kind of have to jump into it. And if it doesn't work out, well, hey, it doesn't work out.
well, and I'm curious then how cupiosexuality plays a role in this too, because is
Hmm.
that like another thing then that you have to navigate when deciding if you want to date someone?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, 100%. So I thought it might be like reciprosexual, if someone expresses sexual attraction, I feel sexual attraction. But then I've come to realize I've never felt, even I've dated a few people and I've had like one very long term partner. I never felt sexual attraction ever for anyone at any point. But I have, so cupiosexuality means you want sex or can desire sex for like pretty much any other or every other reason besides sexual attraction. So I had to kind of come to terms with that because you know I did want sex. I still do, but I don't feel sexual attraction. So I was like, am I ace? Am I really ace? I don't think I am. If I want sex, that doesn't mean I'm ace, does it? But then you get into it, you start reading more, like it just means lack of sexual attraction. Okay, okay, I'm good to go. I'm fine.
Well, I think that distinction is so great to bring up because there are so many people in the community who do desire sex for this or that or the other reason.
Hmm.
And I think it stinks because I feel like there's stigma on both sides. Like, you'll have sex favorable aces who,
Hmm.
and this is obviously not all, but some sex favorable
Yeah.
aces who are just kind of like, well, we all actually are cool with it and want it and whatever. And then you'll have sex repulsed aces who are like, actually, none of us want it, and we all, and it's like why it's in the middle, guys. Like, it's some of
Yeah.
us, yeah, some of us want it, some of us don't, some of us,
Don't.
well, yeah, and some of us can even experience limited sexual attraction or during certain situations for certain people.
Shout
So
out to the Demis and the Grays in the back.
exactly, and the phrase, like, there's
The phrase,
so
yeah.
right, there's so, and like you and I know these terms, but like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, so many people don't even know what asexuality is.
God no.
How do we start this conversation, you know?
It's all like I saw like a picture a while back where just like someone I tried to tell someone I'm ace, like I'm ace. What does that mean? Oh, I experience lack of sexual attraction. And then what else are you? Oh, I'm Cupio. And then like what does that mean? And then the picture just goes, this has turned into a very difficult situation.
Well, so actually, I'm curious, is this something that you do share with a lot of people, and how do you explain it to people? Have they been receptive?
I share it with my friends. I unfortunately I haven't really do I say come out? Is that an appropriate term?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I haven't come out to my parents. That's just I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. But my friends, absolutely, some of them. And I've gotten most of the time the response has been really positive, like, I don't get it, but I understand. Like I don't experience that things that way, but you do, and you experience things in some way that I don't, and they've been kind of like very accepting of it. But some friends are like, "Wow, you're kind of really leaning into this ace thing, aren't you? Like you're kind of really like this is not who you are. I think you're just doing this as some wind up, some kind of joke kind of thing." And
Oh,
those friends I don't really talk to anymore.
I don't blame you. I mean, to come,
Thank you.
well, yeah, to tell them something that's so personal and important to you and to just be
Hmm.
dismissed like that. I, I don't understand why that's so often the reaction. Like, who would do that?
I ooh, it's this might get a little serious, but I tried coming out to my mom a couple like 2 months back. Yeah, 2 months back. And we were having a conversation. She was talking about her ex boss who's gay and she loves him. She's like, "Oh, he's fantastic and fun." And I don't care that he's gay. He can do whatever he wants. And then I was like, okay, so she's fine with gay men and lesbians and kind of like the main quote unquote mainstream LGBT. So like, hey
Right.
mom, what do you feel about asexual people? And we went from like 2020 like modern age to like 1950s regressive America very quickly
Ooh.
because she's the first thing out of her mouth verbatim was, "I think it's unnatural. I don't think it's biologically possible. I don't think you can do it as a human being."
But
I
oh my
know,
gosh. I first of
I
all,
know.
sorry that she had that reaction,
Oh no,
but
it's
uh,
I yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, but why is it that way? Like, I mean, if you think about it, and this is a flawed way of explaining it, but
Hmm.
if you're gay, that means you do not experience,
Yes,
opposite gendered
exactly.
attraction. If you're
Sorry.
straight, yeah. Well,
Hmm.
yeah, if you're straight, you don't experience same gendered attraction. So like
Yeah,
you're already understanding half of it. Why,
yeah,
why
exactly. That's the way I put it to a friend. He's like, "I don't understand." I'm like, "You know how you like girls? Like, yeah." And he's like, "Yeah." Like, "Do you like guys?" Well, no. Well, that except with everyone. He's like,
that
"Oh, okay, okay."
it makes so much sense to us that I don't understand how it doesn't make sense to other people. But I guess
Well,
that's that's just how ignorance and lack of information
mm-hmm,
works. You need the representation.
mm-hmm. Well, it is like it's our lived experience. We get it. I think we get it a lot more from coming from
Right.
the inside looking out rather than the outside looking in.
I so agree, but the fact that you and I like are still able to identify with people who are, I don't know, pansexual, where
Hmm.
some people joke about it being the opposite, which is also kind of problematic because not pansexuals aren't attracted to literally everyone, but just
Hmm.
but this
Hmm.
this wider sphere. I just
Yeah.
don't. I could
Ugh,
rant about this for sure. We're
I
actually
know. I
gonna.
could.
Oh, sorry, go on.
I could also rant about it because I knew someone who was pan, and the first reaction she always got was, "Oh, so you're not going to be loyal? You're not going to be like a devoted partner? You want to go around sleep
Ooh,
with everyone?" Like, no, no, they're just it's like everyone else. Like if you were like heterosexual, you're homo, like you're gay. You can just experience attraction to other people. That doesn't mean you're going to go out and cheat on your partner,
right.
automatically. Yeah,
That's
just
more of
because
a
you have more options
personality
doesn't mean you're
thing.
going to leave the table.
Right.
Yeah.
This is just getting into that facet of like there are so many stereotypes about I guess every sexuality or every
Hmm.
marginalized
Hmm.
sexuality, but like there are some that get it. I don't want to say worse because that's not what I mean, but there are
Yeah.
some that you're more likely to encounter, and I think it's because biphobia is a thing in the
Yes.
LGBTQIA community,
Yeah.
aphobia is a thing in the LGBTQIA
Yeah.
community. Like when you just asked now, like, is coming out the correct term? And I automatically
Hmm.
said yes. My brain like had this short circuit where it was like, well, some people would disagree. And I was like, well, forget
Yeah,
those
that's
people.
why I didn't.
but but still, it's making it harder for people to be, true to themselves and come to this greater understanding of how who
Hmm.
others are too,
Hmm.
because we're just, if your experience isn't like my own, your experience is invalid.
Yes, and it's awful. It's just I don't know. I think humanity, like people, humanity, whatever. We are just such a complicated species. We're so many different layers to us, and I don't think we should ignore it. We can't just all be what am I gonna say here, like white man Joe going down the road to his 1950s grocery store. We can't all be like that. We're all different and unique and special, and it's fantastic.
And shouldn't those be, yeah, those should be good things. Those are
They're
good
very
things.
good things. We're adding to like the color palette of humanity. It's amazing.
Yes, I
Yes.
agree. All right, everybody, that's the lesson for today. Take away.
And now we leave.
Well, actually, I do have a few other questions. So, going back to this idea of, because, like you said, desire is not the same as attraction. And
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could speak to some of the things, as much as you want, some of
Of
the
course.
some of the things that you do consider part of desire that they could overlap with attraction, but they don't necessarily have to. The things that are intriguing, interesting to you about sex as a concept, as an action.
I think it's entirely the emotional intimacy, like the whole. You're being vulnerable with someone. You're being, I think, in every way you're being vulnerable with someone. Physically, of course, because you're both just naked. But I think also mentally, kind of, you're letting your guard down. You're trusting this person with a lot. You're trusting this person with yourself. And I think for me, it is all about the emotional intimacy that sex is. Well, that it brings. The way I kind of try to explain it is that the reason why I want to have sex is that I feel either emotionally or mentally vulnerable with you. I trust you, and then that translates into physical vulnerability, which is the act of sex.
I don't know if I've heard that exact reasoning, but it makes sense, obviously. Well, it
Hmm.
makes sense because one, you're telling me, so duh. But like, just like,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, sex is intimacy, or a form of intimacy rather, for a
Hmm.
lot of people. And
Hmm.
I think this gets back into what we were talking about, it being different for different people, because for other people, it's not. And I think
It's not. Yeah.
both are totally okay, though. Like, I don't like, some of the traditionally romantic sort of things that are out there. And
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, we all are working with different definitions of even what romance and sex are. So
Yes.
how can we tell anyone else that their way of experiencing or wanting intimacy is not a real way? Don't understand it, but I do
I don't get it
understand it.
either, but we try.
I,
We try our
right.
best.
Well, I understand it again in the sense of just people needing more information, which is why I like glad we're
Hmm.
doing this. So
Of course.
just with these two labels, I'm wondering if you are there any other micro labels you use that make them more specific? Like, I've heard some people say that they're demi and they're also gray, or that
Hmm.
they are maybe that they're biromantic, but they're also fray romantic, things like that.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if
Hmm.
there's anything. Do you just use those two, or do you kind of go a little more into even more specific?
I've kind of toyed with the idea. I used to think that I was demi, because I would feel, with my first partner, we were together for 3.5 years. Yeah, 3.5 years. And I started feeling some emotions, some feelings that I'd never felt before. I was like, is this sexual attraction? I don't know. But I thought I might be demi because of that. And I'm still open to the idea because when I looked up Cupiosexuality, it says Cupiosexual may also be used by people who sometimes feel sexual attraction but desire a sexual relationship even without attraction. For example, a demisexual person who dates someone on the assumption that they will develop sexual attraction later on.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, that's what kind of hooked me into the Cupiosexual thing. Is that I think that I'm open to the idea that I might be demi, that one day I might experience sexual attraction with a very long term partner. But yeah, for now I'm comfortable just saying I'm recipromantic and Cupio. Even though one day I might find out that hey, I am demi as well. It just took a lot of time to find to find that.
Oh, and that's something I love about the ace community. And again, that you'll find some people who disagree and some
Hmm.
opinions, but
Hmm.
I feel like by and large, the ace community is cool with this concept of this is how I ID now, this is true to me now.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. And if it changes, that doesn't mean it wasn't true. That just means sexuality is fluid and
fluid.
complicated.
Hmm.
And
Because I went to look at the demisexual community. I found a few, like on Reddit especially, I found a few posts where people like, I'm leaving. I found out that I'm not, like I'm a gay or lesbian or I'm something else. And then people in the comments were like, no, no, you're fine. Thank you for being with us anyway. We're glad you found your identity. And it's just so goddamn positive. It just makes me smile every time.
aw,
It seems like the ace community is so comfortable with letting people, find them, discover that they may or may not be ace, stay or leave. It doesn't matter, just as long as we help them on their journey of discovering who they are. And I really like that,
I do too. And I mean, as it should be.
as it should be.
Like who
Exclusionist.
well, like who, one day randomly wakes up and is like, "Oh yes, I have myself entirely figured out for now and
Oh, good
forever."
God, not me. Oh,
Like,
good God.
is right. I mean, isn't life supposed to be a journey and a process, and aren't we supposed to
Hmm.
grow and develop and change and be
Hmm.
okay with that?
Yeah, actually, this brings up an interesting thing. I told you that I was taught by Dominican Friars for my
Yes.
philosophy degree. That oh my god, they are some of the most interesting people you'll ever meet. But never go drinking with them. You will not survive. I had one of them. I actually was drinking with him. That's why I know from
Oh, you
experience
did
why you
survive
shouldn't.
though. That's good to
I did
hear.
because I was with them for like 2 years. I was sorry, 2 years. I was pretty much like an honorary Dominican at that point. But we were drinking, and he kind of like looks over his beer glass, all blurry eyed. He's like, Matt, you know what hell is? I'm like, I don't know. You want to explain it to me? You're the expert. You've been doing this for like 30 years. And he's like, hell is being very certain of yourself. And I've been thinking
Oh,
about that for a long time. Because he was always about the mystery of the person, that you're always discovering who you are, and that's a good thing. That's a joy to always find out more about yourself. Because as soon as you're certain of who you are, that's it. There's no more to you.
I feel like people don't like to have this conversation because of the whole like Lady Gaga born this way sort of thing, and
Hmm,
it's like
hmm, hmm. It's
that's it's not true, but it's not the full truth. There's other
Yeah,
elements
exactly.
to it.
Hmm.
So
It's like, oh, I think this is kind of like pressure. I don't know. Wes was like, I'm gonna make a big statement here. Please forgive me. But I think there's a sort of pressure on people to kind of understand who they are, and then just kind of get thrown out the door. Go figure. Like, you have your life figured out. Go now. You're fine.
right,
And I don't know. It's okay if you like. It also, sexuality being fluid. People also, they change over time. They grow. They mature. And I think, our sexuality develops alongside us. I think some parts of it are kind of set in stone, or they don't change very much. But I think a lot of it does. You're always discovering more about yourself, and you're always discovering new likes, new loves, new hates, new dislikes. It's just part of being human.
right. And just for some reason, sexuality and romantic orientation are the two where people are like, I don't know about that.
Yes, I know, and it's frustrating. Everything else can be just, you can change, your hair, your personality. You can change everything else about yourself, but your sexuality, no, that stays. That just
Right.
doesn't leave.
Well, and I
Mhm,
think it's because for so long people had trouble getting people to believe these identities were valid. So now it's like,
mhm.
oh, what if I'm to say I am this identity and then change it? Am I
Right,
invalidating myself? And it's like, no,
right.
you're not.
It's almost like this fear of, like, people fought for so long to identify as gay and lesbian and bi and trans out in the public, that as soon as you feel, not feel, but as soon as you stop, quote unquote, stop being that, it's like, oh, why did all these people fight for my right to identify as these things if I'm just going to take it and leave and not do anything with it? It's just kind
Right.
of this fear of, I am invalidating myself, but not only myself, I'm invalidating the community because I switched.
That's exactly it. So
Hmm.
I don't want to make this sound like a why are people doing this? Because that is why. Like and it makes
Hmm.
perfect sense. It's just so it's so unfortunate because it
Hmm.
limits to you to always being who you thought you were yesterday, even if the
Yeah,
person today is slightly different. So,
yeah. And I
uh,
think I told you that, you asked me what I think is necessary for people to kind of on this journey. And I said you have to be patient. Patience is so so important. Be really patient with yourself. If nothing else, be very patient with yourself, and then maybe also be patient with the people around you as they try to understand. But most important of all, please be patient with yourself as you go on this journey, as you discover who you are.
I think that's great advice. I always end with like a dumb question, but my question before my dumb question was going to be if you had any advice you wanted to offer because I think it was good advice. And I guess I feel like I need to ask you like another real question before I get into the
Mhm,
dumb one since
of
that.
course.
So I guess then I'm curious what because you can experience romantic attraction, you have yet to experience sexual attraction.
Mhm,
I think people don't necessarily know what the difference is. And when someone says, I experience romantic attraction, they're not sure what that means.
mhm.
So I'm curious if you can go a little more in depth about what romantic attraction means to you.
So romantic attraction is, I think it's wanting to go on dates. I think kissing is like a big part of it. Like cuddling. I bet, oh, cuddling can also be sensual attraction. How do I put this?
Well,
Hmm.
this is because I this is like a very personal thing, I think,
Hmm.
because I think that's the thing. There are elements of romantic attraction and sexual attraction that are different for different people.
Hmm.
And because, like, with me, I definitely consider cuddling more of a romantic activity,
Yes. Yeah.
whereas for me personally, kissing, I just don't enjoy really.
Hmm.
So, like,
Hmm.
and I think this is coming into that thing about where it's like, no wonder we're having trouble understanding it because not only do we mean different things by it, but it's
Yeah.
like where does where are the attractions overlapping? Can something be sensual and romantic? Can something be sensual and something else? Kissing your friend versus kissing like, a family member versus kissing a romantic or sexual partner. They're all
Hmm.
very different acts.
They're all very different.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I think I consider kissing, cuddling, holding hands, running your fingers through someone's hair, like that kind of act. Caressing, like I do this thing where I draw figure eights on someone's arm if I'm romantically attracted to them. They still do
Aw.
appreciate it. I think they do. Thank you.
No, that sounds sweet. And yeah, I think because I've looked this up because since we all have like different ways of understanding what this sort of attraction is. And
Hmm.
I saw this one that I'm still mulling over. And it was this idea that the acts are almost like an extension of it. So maybe you want
Hmm.
to run your fingers through someone's hair, maybe you want to kiss them, but it's this feeling of mystery and intensity and
Hmm.
like this closeness that I'm not going to say is deeper than other types, but it's different. Trying to define how it's different, that's where
Hmm.
we keep having that
I
that,
think
that problem.
I might have like a little solution here. It's not like a cover-all, but bear with me, please. I
Yes.
think the difference lies in the feeling that you feel when you do these acts, when you do these things. I think it's just when how do I put this? When I'm kissing someone romantically, it is different. It's a different feeling. Like on the inside, it's a different feeling than if I give my grandmother like a kiss on the cheek. Because again, Italian, that's what we do. But I do think the difference lies in the feeling that you have in the moment with the person.
I think you're onto something. I'm just like trying to figure out how to put the feelings into words because they are
Hmm.
different. But how do you explain them except to use the word itself? This is a
Yeah,
romantic feeling. This is a familial.
it's kind of like trying to explain what color looks like to someone who's never seen green or red or blue.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty much impossible. But um, I do think it's hard to explain because it is the feeling that you feel. It's this feeling with this person, but it's not that feeling with that person type deal.
Well, exactly. And I think this is why, because like obviously there are aromantic people who experience, limited to zero romantic attraction.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
I think this is where it gets interesting because like we're here trying to explain romantic attraction and having trouble, and then like to have people explain sexual attraction. No
Oh
one
God.
like, yeah, exactly. So this is all to say, no wonder there are some misunderstandings, but at the same time, just when someone says they are who they are and how they are, just believe them if it doesn't
Hmm.
hurt anyone.
Hmm.
And
I came up with this really weird analogy, but I hope it works. It's like being ace is kind of like being very sorry about this. Being ace is like being a veggie burger. Um, let me hear me out, hear me out. It's not as weird as you think. It's a little weird, but not as weird as you think. So being not ace is kind of like allosexual. It's kind of like being a meat burger. Like, what are the ingredients in like a beef patty? It's just meat, 100% meat. That's all there is. Now, tell me what the ingredients of a vegetable veggie burger is, and you have like 48, 50, 60 ingredients. And being ace is kind of taking all these identities and all these I don't want to say modifiers, but all these different labels and identities, and kind of cobbling them all together to explain who you are. Because it's not such a straightforward answer. It's not like I'm 100% this or 100% that. It's I am a combination of these things because this is how I experience the world.
so, speaking as a vegan,
Of course,
this is
I'm pescatarian,
amazing.
so.
Yeah. So we are what we eat, right? We're
Hmm.
veggie burgers. Perfect.
Exactly. I had
Wow.
another thing. Sorry, it's just a silly thought. I had like a little thought yesterday. It's like if gay people like gay men have like gay bars, what do ace people have? And the answer came from on high immediately. Gay bars, but ace cafes. That's what we have. We have ace cafes.
I would love that. I've spoken
So
with
would
some
I.
people. Well, I've spoken with some people about this idea of like, where can we even go to date? Because there's like
Mhm.
very few dating sites and we don't have gay bars or even, we don't have straight
Ace
bars. So
cafes.
Ace Cafes. Oh
Ace
my gosh.
cafes.
If anyone wants to start that, please do.
Please do.
Me and
Please.
Matt will be your first customers.
100%.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, fantastic, fantastic.
Well, actually, okay, so now I got to lead into my stupid question.
Of
And it
course,
was
as you must.
so have you heard the whole thing about aces they can be like plants, they can be I don't know, cards, those sort of things?
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering which symbol of asexuality you most ID with and why. Now, you can throw out the Ace Cafe thing as well and say that one
Mm-hmm.
because understandable. But are there any more of the traditional ones that you kind of feel like, yes, I'm a space ace, or I'm a plant ace, or something like
I
that?
am 100%. The answer just came to me. I am 100%. I am a London fog tea
Oh
kind
my
of ace. I am. I am a like warm cuddle, like warm hug on a cold day type deal, and I. That's what I am. I'm a London fog. I will like warm your soul and your heart, and that is what I will do.
I've never heard London Fog as one, but they are delicious. I
They're
actually can't.
fantastic.
It's so sad. I can't have caffeine, and it's like
Oh.
for the longest time I was like, "Oh, I miss coffee and I, miss chocolate." But then matcha and London Fogs, like the black teas, those were one day I just woke up and was like, "Those are the things I actually am missing." And my life spiraled, but it's okay now.
I'm glad it's okay. I'm glad the spiral.
Thanks.
It gone out of the spiral.
Well, I think those were really all my questions, important and also kind of silly. Was
Of
there
course.
anything else you wanted to cover?
Besides the invention of an Ace Cafe, um, I have like I guess I don't have anything more to say. It's just kind of like a silly story. So that Dominican friar that said that hell is being certain of yourself. He also almost took me out with a beer can.
What?
He I was we had like this little gathering. They have like the friars own like a cottage a little far away, and we used to go there every like 6 months or so during the school year because we like, get whatever you do in this life, get a bunch of philosophy students together, have them drink, and just watch the fireworks go. Like because that's what we used to do. And the best part was like we'd have a Dominican friar as the chaperones. We didn't get into anything. Um, but I was standing in the doorway, and there's like a fridge in the kitchen. I'm just kind of leaning on the doorway, and all I hear is "Hey Matt!" And there's a beer can already in the air, flying toward my head, and I grab it at the last second. And this I can't swear, but I want to call him so many names. He gives you like this thumbs up and this really smug smile, and he's like, "Good catch. Next time I won't call out your name." Oh,
What?
it's like I almost died. I almost died by beer can by a Dominican friar. That's how I almost went.
What? Like what?
He just he loved doing dumb stuff all the damn time, like throwing beer cans
Yeah,
at
well,
you.
there's doing dumb stuff, and there's like braining your student.
Yeah, yeah. That's. But he thought it was funny.
Well, I might not take you up on that idea of sitting around with a bunch of philosophers and drinking because it sounds hazardous.
Don't go drink Dominican Friars. You will not survive, as I keep saying.
Well, I appreciate you coming in to talk about both your identity and also these unique, harrowing, almost
Thank
life-ending
you. I'm glad
experiences.
my near-death experience can be of some value to the world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again,
Absolutely.
just you coming on here to talk, and every moment spreads representation, spreads visibility, and that's what we need. So, thank you so much,
Hmm.
Matt.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. I'm gonna keep doing this, and that's why more people should be reaching out to acechathats@gmail.com. Yeah, I
Oh, the
gave you the
shout out has
warning
come.
about plugging it. Yeah. Um, should follow the Insta, the Twitter, subscribe. I don't know everything else. Just press the buttons.
You can do it,
Uh,
folks. We believe in you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We Matt did it, and he did great. So you guys can
Well,
do
thank
it
you.
too. This has been Ace Chat, and thanks for chatting with us.